I'm Laura Ingraham. This is the Ingraham Angle from Washington tonight. If you can't beat 'em, indict 'em. That's the focus of tonight's angle. Now, in sports, if you're a coach without a winning record, you eventually get fired. If you're a CEO and you can't return value to the shareholders, you get fired. But for liberals in politics and the media, being wrong consistently, it's rarely a disqualifier. Not from running for office to push the same policies that have already failed, and not from appearing on TV to make more bad predictions. Such is the case with all the smug lugheads forecasting the political demise of Donald Trump.
I do think Trump's influence is waning.
And he's only been out of office for about 10 months, so you already see his influence steadily wane. You're going to see that continue in the next 3 years.
Donald Trump is having a bad morning because he's become irrelevant.
Never Trumper Republicans, never known for their originality, repeated the mantra.
We are starting to see some of Trump's influence wane. That grip on the Republican Party is starting to loosen.
We know Trump's influence is waning. I'm confident he would never win president.
Trump's influence is diminishing.
Now, that's what's called wishful thinking, folks. Because they desperately wanted Trump gone, they let that cloud whatever sliver of political judgment they ever had, if they had any to begin with. Now, check out this map of states where Trump-endorsed candidates have won so far in Senate races. Now, for those of you keeping a score at home, that's 8-0, a record in the Senate primaries. And in the House primaries, his record is 14 wins and 5 losses. So that's an overall success rate for all races, Senate, House, and governors, of 95% for incumbents and 79% for non-incumbents. That winning percentage should become even more big with the now expected victory of Kari Lake in Arizona after tonight's new batch of counted votes. Now, whatever you think of Trump's policies, his personality, does all of that look like the record of someone with waning political influence? Now, the establishment view, again, is wrong on so many issues. It was that Trump was bad for the GOP. They said that over and over. Like he turned people off. Women would never vote for him. Minorities would run from him. Well, that's not panning out either. In fact, when it comes to minorities, the opposite's the case. Hispanics are more favorably inclined toward Republicans than ever before.
The Democrats have a history of ignoring what Hispanics really want. And what they want is to protect their family. They want law and order. They want to be able to protect their faith. And they love this country and believe in the American dream.
And now Republicans view their own party more favorably than in the pre-Trump years. So if that's Trump with diminished influence, I'd hate to see Trump with actual influence. So whatever Trump decides to do, though, in 2024, his ideas are what is the real threat to the swamp. All those never-Trump ninnies know that in a second term, Trump's agenda would be summed up in one sentence: no more Mr. Nice Guy. So on the chopping block would be the war on fossil fuels, and get rid of that. All things woke at the Pentagon, that's gone. Pro-China bias at the NIH, oh, gone. And federal employees who refuse to return to work. Now, the latter is an existential threat to the D.C. bureaucracy, the sheer size of the federal civil service. It's comprised of a staggering 2.1 million employees. Now, when most Americans hear that, they're shocked to know of the actual size of the federal beast. Trump's support for a top-to-bottom reform of the federal civil service is terrifying to the thousands of lazy government employees who are used to doing nothing and getting paid for it. The Office of Personnel Management's website, yes, I went on it today, reminds us that the original Civil Service Act, signed in 1883, ended the spoils system and established the Civil Service Commission. Now, the commission, led by the energetic Teddy Roosevelt, laid the foundations of an impartial, professional civil service based on the merit principle, that employees should be judged only on how well they can do the job. That's good. Well, today, Teddy has to be rolling in his grave. Overwhelmingly, the civil service acts not as an unbiased, impartial workforce, but as an arm of the Democratic National Committee. Trump knows this, right? He lived it. Leftists who were burrowed into agencies and departments were constantly undermining his agenda. Thus, they were thwarting the will of the people who elected Donald Trump. Talk about anti-democratic. That's what the Democrats are always screaming about. That's anti-democratic. And as to whether Trump is influential, well, his views sure are. According to Axios, several possible 2024 GOP presidential candidates say they support Trump's plan to make it easier for the president to purge federal workers. Now, why does that matter? Trump need not win his party's nomination, nor even run again, for the next GOP president to try to reimpose that executive order known as Schedule F. So Democrats, increasingly concerned, are scrambling to block that possibility. Yeah, you bet. And that concern on the part of the Democrats of the civil service reform, it's only growing. Just like they needed an insurance policy to stop Trump from winning in 2016, those same forces feel like they need another insurance policy now. And it might arrive courtesy of a blatantly political DOJ investigation into January 6th. 19 months after the Capitol riots, and they suddenly impanel a federal grand jury to examine potential criminality surrounding January 6th? It's beyond obvious. They're worried that Trump's not just going to run again, but that he's going to win again. And rather than take him on the court of ideas, they want to take him off the court altogether.
This committee is doing its job. The Department of Justice needs to do theirs.
The Department of Justice has a duty to act on this referral and others we have sent.
I will echo what my colleagues have already said, but more bluntly, Attorney General Garland, do your job so that we can do ours.
So that you can do yours? Really? Check the inflation numbers, sweetie. You ain't doing anything. Now, you know they're panicked when the ghosts from administrations past, they start popping up to nudge Garland.
My guess is that by the end of this process, you're going to see indictments involving high-level people in the White House. You're going to see indictments against people outside the White House. Ultimately, you're probably going to see the former president of the United States, indicted as well.
Now that's rich, coming from the master of the Obama-Hillary cover-up. But that's the only thing that's ironic. It was really ironic when Darth Vader showed up.
In our nation's 246-year history, there has never been an individual who is a greater threat to our republic than Donald Trump. Liz is fearless. She never backs down from a fight. There is nothing more important she will ever do than lead the effort to make sure Donald Trump is never again near the Oval Office. And she will succeed.
That whole thing about never going into politics again near the Oval Office, that's funny because that's the sort of stuff his newfound friends on the left used to say about him.
Handing out billions of dollars in contracts without a bid to Halliburton while you're still on the payroll makes you unfit to lead this country.
You can always tell when the Republicans are restless because the vice president's motorcade pulls into the Capitol and Darth Vader emerges.
And remember these headlines? Remember those? You know, I'm confused. That's the guy everyone's now supposed to listen to on indictments? Okay. Now, what you're seeing this week is just another example of the establishment's primary emotion these days. It's panic. They know the economy is doing poorly. They know their foreign policy is failing. They know their trade policy hurts American workers. They know that Americans are getting poorer and the country is getting weaker. And they know elections are coming up in November and again in 2024. And they know we're on to them. Because for the next 2 years, you can expect more wild charges, more threatened resignations and investigations, more bad predictions. But don't lose hope. We're on a path to victory, and the establishment, they know it. And that's the angle.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.